Dr. Mina watched the green lights dance across her computer screen at the Luna Research Station. For 3 years, she had been looking for signals from space, hoping to find proof that humans were not alone in the universe. Tonight felt different. The patterns on her screen were too regular, too organized to be natural. "Computer, run signal analysis again," she whispered, her hands shaking slightly as she typed commands. The results appeared instantly. The signal was artificial. Someone, or something, was trying to communicate. Min-ah, single quotes us heart pounded as she reached for the emergency communication button. "Director Park, please come to Lab 7 immediately. This is not a drill." Within minutes, Director Park Jun burst through the laboratory doors, still wearing his sleeping clothes. His gray hair was messy, and his eyes were wide with worry. "What is it, Mina? Is there an emergency?" Mina pointed at her screen. "Sir, I think we just received our first message from aliens." Park Jun stared at the screen for a long moment. The dancing patterns of light seemed to pulse with purpose, creating rhythms that no human had ever seen before. "Are you absolutely certain this is not equipment failure?" Park asked quietly. "I have checked everything 3 times, Mina replied. "The signal is coming from the edge of our solar system. It is definitely artificial, and it is getting stronger." Park Jun activated his communication device. "Wake up the entire staff. Contact Earth Command immediately. Tell them we have a Code 1 situation." Over the next 6 hours, the Luna Research Station buzzed with activity. Scientists, technicians, and military officers worked together to decode the mysterious signals. The breakthrough came when Dr. Kim, a language specialist, noticed that the patterns seemed to follow mathematical sequences. "They are using prime numbers," Dr. Kim announced to the crowded control room. "Look at this sequence: 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. They are trying to show us they understand mathematics." Mina felt excitement building in her chest. If they understand math, maybe we can build a translation system. Working through the night, the team created a basic communication program. When they sent back their own mathematical sequence, the response was immediate. The alien signals changed, becoming more complex and organized. Then something incredible happened. The signals began forming pictures. "Look at this," Mina called out, her voice filled with wonder. On the main screen, simple line drawings appeared, circles, triangles, and then more complex shapes that looked like star maps. Director Park studied the images carefully. "They are showing us where they come from. That constellation there. It is real. Our telescopes have mapped those stars." The real shock came 12 hours later, when the first visual contact was established. The alien beings appeared on screen, and everyone in the control room gasped. They were unlike anything humans had ever imagined. The creatures looked like they were made of living crystal. Their bodies were tall and thin, covered in what appeared to be transparent skin that glowed with soft, internal light. They moved gracefully, almost floating rather than walking. Their faces were angular, but somehow peaceful, with large eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. "We are called Cathara," came the translated voice through their communication system. The sound was musical, like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "We greet the young species of this system." Mina found her voice first. "We are humans. We welcome you to our solar system. Are you? Are you visiting us?" The lead alien figure, taller than the others, with brighter internal light, stepped forward. "We are not visitors. We are refugees. Our home is gone, destroyed by an ancient enemy. We have traveled far across the dark spaces, looking for sanctuary." Director Park leaned forward in his chair. "What enemy could destroy your world? Your technology seems far more advanced than ours." The alien leader's light dimmed slightly, as if the memory brought sadness. "They are called the Devourers. They are an old evil that moves from star to star, consuming all life they find. They have followed us for many cycles of your sun. Soon, They will arrive here. A cold silence filled the control room. Mina felt her excitement turn to fear. Are you saying they will attack Earth? The Devourers consume everything, the Kythera explained. Planets, civilizations, entire species. We Kythera cannot fight. Our nature prevents us from causing harm to any living thing. We can only run, but running only delays the inevitable. Park Jun stood slowly. What do you want from us? The crystalline being's light pulsed gently. We offer you our knowledge, our technology, everything we have learned in our long existence. In exchange, we ask for sanctuary. But we must warn, you harboring us will bring great danger to your species. The Devourers will come, and they will offer you a choice. Give us to them, or face destruction alongside us. Mina looked around the control room at her colleagues. Fear and uncertainty filled every face. Humanity had dreamed of meeting aliens for centuries, but they had never imagined it would come with such a terrible price. How long do we have? Director Park asked quietly. The Kythera leader turned toward the window, showing the star-filled space beyond Luna. Our sensors detect disturbances in the deep void. If our calculations are correct, the Devourer fleet will reach your system in 47 of your days. Mina felt the weight of the moment settling on her shoulders. In less than 7 weeks, humanity would face the greatest decision in its history. Admiral Lee stood in the center of Earth's Defense Command, watching dozens of screens showing the Kythera ships floating near Mars. 3 weeks had passed since first contact, and the world was in chaos. Some countries wanted to welcome the aliens, while others demanded they leave immediately. Sir, the President is calling for another emergency meeting, reported Lieutenant Haijin, her young face showing the stress of sleepless nights. Lee nodded tiredly. Tell him, I will be there in 1 hour. First, I need the latest report from Dr. Mina on Luna Station. Dr. Mina had been working closely with the Kythera, learning about their amazing technology. She had discovered things that seemed impossible. Their ships could bend space itself, allowing them to travel faster than light. Their crystal bodies could store enormous amounts of energy and share thoughts directly with each other. The most surprising thing Mina explained to Admiral Lee over the communication link is that they really cannot fight. I thought it was just their culture, but it is actually built into their bodies. When they try to think violent thoughts, their crystal structure blocks those thoughts completely. Admiral Lee frowned. That seems like a serious weakness. How did their species survive for so long? They are very old, Admiral, much older than humans. For millions of years, they lived peacefully with other species across the galaxy. Violence was never necessary because everyone worked together. Until the Devourers came, Lee said grimly. Mina's expression grew dark. Yes, according to Velta, the Devourers appeared about 50,000 years ago. No one knows where they came from originally. They are not like normal life forms. They are a collective mind made up of absorbed species. Lee felt a chill run down his spine. Absorbed? When the Devourers conquer a planet, they do not just kill the inhabitants. They absorb their consciousness, their knowledge, their memories. Every species they consume becomes part of their collective mind. That is how they have become so powerful. They have the combined knowledge of thousands of different civilizations. Dr. Kim, the xenobiologist studying Devourer communications, joined the conversation from his laboratory on Earth. I have been analyzing the historical data the Kythera provided. The Devourers follow a pattern. They arrive at a star system and make the same offer every time. Surrender peacefully and become part of their collective, or resist and be consumed by force. Has anyone ever successfully resisted them? Lee asked. Not, according to the records, Kim replied sadly. Some civilizations lasted longer than others, but all were eventually absorbed. The Kythera have survived only because they keep running. But the Devourers are persistent. They have been chasing the Kythera across the galaxy for thousands of years. Admiral Lee walked to the large window overlooking Earth. From space, the planet looked so peaceful, so beautiful. It was hard to imagine that in less than 4 weeks, an ancient enemy would arrive to destroy everything humanity had ever built. What makes the Cathara so special to these devourers? He asked. Why chase them for so long instead of finding easier targets? Minna exchanged glances with Dr. Kim through the video link. That is the most disturbing part. The Cathara's crystal bodies can store and channel energy in ways no other species can. To the devourers, they are like living batteries. One Cathara can power devourer technology for decades. And there are still 12,000 Cathara in the refugee fleet, Lee said quietly. Exactly. To the devourers, our solar system now contains the most valuable energy source in the galaxy. Lieutenant Hygen approached Admiral Lee with a worried expression. Sir, we are receiving reports from observatories around the world. Long-range sensors are detecting gravitational disturbances in deep space. Lee felt his stomach drop. How long until we can confirm what is causing them, based on the data the Cathara provided about devourer ships? Dr. Kim answered, I would estimate we have visual confirmation in 72 hours. Admiral Lee closed his eyes for a moment. When he opened them, his face showed the determination of a military officer who had made a difficult decision. Dr. Mina, I need you to learn everything possible about devourer weaknesses. Dr. Kim, analyze every battle record the Cathara have. Look for patterns, mistakes, anything we can use. Admiral Minna said hesitantly, our weapons technology is thousands of years behind the devourers. The Cathara have told me that civilizations far more advanced than ours have fallen to them. What can humans possibly do that others could not? Lee turned back to the window, looking down at the blue marble that was humanity's home. I do not know yet, but I know one thing. We are not going to hand over refugees to save ourselves. That is not who humans are. Over the next 2 days, reports continued coming in. The gravitational disturbances were getting stronger. Whatever was approaching was massive beyond imagination. On the 3rd day, Lieutenant Hygen burst into the command center with tears in her eyes. Admiral, visual contact confirmed. The Devourer fleet is real, and it is bigger than anything we imagined. On the main screen, images appeared from the Hubble Space Telescope. Dark shapes moved through space, blotting out stars as they passed. The ships were enormous, some as large as Earth's moon, and there were dozens of them. Admiral Lee stared at the approaching fleet and wondered if humanity had just signed its own death warrant by choosing to protect strangers from the stars. Captain Name stood on the bridge of the battleship New Sol, watching the darkness of space through the main viewing screen. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations, checking weapons and shields for the 100th time that day. Everyone knew what was coming. Lieutenant Sujin looked up from her weapons console. Captain, all missile systems are ready. Laser cannons are charged to full power. Thank you, Sujin, Nam replied, though they both knew their weapons would be like throwing stones at a mountain. Suddenly, the space in front of them began to change. Dark shapes appeared where there had been only stars moments before. The Devourer fleet materialized like nightmares, becoming real. Engineer, Du-Heon gasped from his station. Captain, I am reading 47 ships. The largest one is 3 times the size of our moon. Captain Nam felt his mouth go dry. The Devourer vessels looked like they were alive. Their hulls pulsed with veins of sickly green light, and strange tentacles writhed along their surfaces. These were not machines. They were something far worse. Communications officer Tyone suddenly straightened in his chair. Captain, we are receiving a transmission. It is being broadcast to every ship in our fleet and every communication device on Earth. Put it through, Nam ordered. The voice that filled the bridge was horrible to hear. It sounded like thousands of different voices speaking at once. Men, women, children, and alien tones that human ears were never meant to hear. When it spoke Korean, it was perfect, but underneath were layers of other languages from across the galaxy. People of Earth, the collective voice said calmly, we are the Devourers. We have come for the Kithara refugees you harbor. They belong to us. We have pursued them across the galaxy for good reason. Captain Nam exchanged worried glances with his crew. The voice continued speaking. The Kithara are energy sources of great value. Their crystal bodies can power our technology for many cycles of your star. Return them to us now, and your species may continue to exist. Refuse, and you will join them as nourishment for our growth. Taeyeon's hands shook as he monitored the communication channels. Captain, they are broadcasting this message in every human language. Everyone on Earth is hearing this. The Devourer voice spoke again, and this time there was something like amusement in its tone. To prove our power, observe. On the viewing screen, one of the smaller Devourer ships turned toward the outer edge of the solar system. A beam of dark energy shot out from its front, reaching across millions of miles in an instant. No, whispered Doohyun, watching his sensors. In horror, the beam struck Pluto. For a moment, the dwarf planet glowed with the same sickly green light as the Devourer ships. Then it simply disappeared. Where Pluto had existed for billions of years, there was now only empty space. Your weapons cannot harm us, the collective voice continued. Your shields cannot protect you. We have consumed civilizations that built ships the size of your moon and weapons that could destroy stars. What hope do you primitive beings have against us? Captain Nam stared at the empty space where Pluto had been. His crew looked at him with fear in their eyes, waiting for orders. Across the solar system, he knew other captains were facing the same impossible situation. Admiral Lee's voice crackled through the fleet communication system. All ships, hold your positions. Do not fire unless fired upon. But Captain Nam could hear something else in the Admiral's voice, a tone he had heard before in combat. It was the sound of a man who had made a decision that might doom them all. The Devourer transmission continued. We will give you one rotation of your planet to decide. Surrender the Kithara, and we will leave your system in peace. Refuse, and we will add your species to our collective. Your choice is simple. The transmission ended, leaving the human fleet in terrible silence. Taeyoung looked up from his communication console with wide eyes. Captain, I am receiving messages from Earth. The governments are meeting in emergency sessions. Some are saying we should give up the Kithara to save ourselves. Captain. Nam walked to the viewing screen and stared at the Devourer fleet. The alien ships hung in space like cancer, blocking out the stars. He thought about his sister Min-young back on Earth, about his nephew who was only 5 years old, about the billions of innocent people who had never asked to be part of this cosmic war. Then he thought about Veltar and the other Kithara refugees. They were gentle beings who had never hurt anyone, who had offered to share their knowledge freely with humanity. They had warned Earth about the danger they brought, giving humans the choice to turn them away. Taeyoung, open a channel to Admiral Lee, Nam ordered. Channel open, sir. Admiral, this is Captain Nam. What are your orders? There was a long pause. Nam could imagine Lee struggling with the weight of humanity's survival resting on his shoulders. Finally, Lee's voice came through, steady and clear. All ships, this is Admiral Lee. I have consulted with Earth Command and the United Nations. Our answer is final. Another pause, then Lee continued. We stand with the Kithara. Prepare for battle. The Devourer response was immediate. The largest ship in their fleet began moving toward Earth, its hull pulsing with hungry light. Captain Nam turned to his crew. You heard the Admiral. Battle stations. As alarms began blaring throughout the human fleet, Nam wondered if they had just chosen the most noble suicide in human history. Captain Nam watched in horror as the destroyer Busan fired everything it had at the nearest Devourer ship. Missiles, laser beams, and plasma cannons all struck the alien vessel's hull. For a moment, Nam felt hope as he saw the enemy ship's surface glow and crack. But then something terrible happened. The Devourer's ship began to heal itself. The cracks closed up, the damaged areas grew back, and the hull became even stronger than before. "Sir, the Busan is reporting that their weapons are no longer working," Lieutenant Sujin said from her weapons station, her voice shaking with fear. On the screen, the Devourer's ship fired back. A stream of green acid shot out and hit the Busan. Captain Nam watched his fellow ship melt like ice cream in the sun. Within seconds, there was nothing left but empty space where 300 brave sailors had been fighting moments before. "They are learning from our attacks," Engineer Du Hyan said quietly. "Every weapon we use, they adapt to it immediately." Across the solar system, the same horrible scene played out again and again. Human ships fired everything they had, only to watch the Devourer vessels become immune to their weapons. Then the aliens would strike back with weapons that seemed designed specifically to destroy whatever they faced. The battleship Incheon lasted 5 minutes. The cruiser Daegu managed 7. One by one, Earth's most powerful warships were being destroyed without causing any real damage to the enemy. Captain Nam opened communication with Admiral Lee's flagship. "Admiral, we need to retreat. We cannot fight these things." Lee's face appeared on screen, bloody from where debris had hit him during an attack. "There is nowhere to retreat to, Captain. If we run, they will just follow us to Earth." On Luna Research Station, Dr. Mina worked frantically in her laboratory. Around her, Cathara refugees moved with graceful urgency, their crystal bodies glowing brighter with stress. "There must be something," Mina said to Veltar, the Cathara leader. "Some weakness we can use. You have studied the Devourers longer than anyone." Veltar's internal light pulsed with sadness. "We have run from them for 50,000 years, always seeking a way to fight back. But they consume the knowledge of every species they defeat. They know every weapon, every strategy, every defense that has ever been tried." Mina slammed her hand on the laboratory table in frustration. On the screens around them, more human ships were dying. At this rate, the entire fleet would be destroyed within hours. "Wait," she said suddenly. "You said they consume knowledge. But what about things they have never encountered? What about your own biology?" Veltar's crystal form seemed to brighten slightly. "What do you mean? You told me that the need to consume Cathara slowly, over years. Why is that? Why not absorb you instantly, like they do other species?" Veltar was quiet for a moment, his light flickering as he accessed ancient memories. "Our crystal structure, it resists the absorption process. The Devourers must break down our bodies carefully, or the energy stored within becomes unstable." Mina felt excitement building in her chest. "Resists, like a natural defense." "Yes, but it only delays the inevitable. Eventually, they find ways to overcome our resistance." "But what if we could weaponize that resistance?" Mina asked, her mind racing with possibilities. "What if we could use your crystal structure to protect our ships?" Working through the night, while the battle raged in space, Mina and Veltar developed a desperate plan. Cathara crystal could be grown and shaped into protective coating for human ships. But there was a terrible cost. "The crystals must be alive to work properly," Veltar explained sadly. "One of my people would have to merge their consciousness with each ship, becoming part of its structure forever. They would no longer exist as individuals." Mina stared at the test crystal glowing on her laboratory table. "Would they die?" "Not die, exactly. But they would become something else. Part Cathara, part machine, part human ship. Their individual thoughts would be lost in the merger." When Admiral Lee heard the plan, his scarred face showed both hope and horror. "We cannot ask them to sacrifice themselves for us. We barely know each other." Elder Moran, the oldest of the Cathara, stepped forward. Her ancient crystal form glowed with calm determination. Admiral Lee, your species chose to protect us when you could have saved yourselves. Many of our young ones still live because of your courage. Let us now protect your young ones." Around her, other Kithara began to glow brighter, their harmonic voices joining in agreement. "We have run for so long," Moran continued. "We have watched the Devourers consume world after world, while we could only flee. For the first time in 50,000 years, we have a chance to fight back. We will not waste it." Captain Nam felt the change the moment Elder Moran's consciousness merged with his ship. The new soul hummed with new energy, and its hull began to glow with living crystal patterns. He could feel the ancient being's presence in his mind, not controlling, but sharing strength and wisdom. "All ships report successful integration," came Admiral Lee's voice over the communication system. "All vessels, advance on the enemy." As the transformed human fleet moved forward, the Devourer ships fired their adapted weapons. But this time, something different happened. Where the alien attacks hit the crystalline-enhanced hulls, the Devourer weapons simply stopped working. For the first time in the battle, Captain Nam smiled. "Sujin, target the nearest enemy ship. Let us see how they like fighting something they cannot absorb." Captain Name felt Elder Moran's ancient wisdom flowing through his mind as the new soul charged toward the Devourer fleet. His ship's hull glowed with living crystal patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. Around him, the other transformed human vessels looked like stars come to life. "Captain, their weapons are bouncing off our hull," reported Lieutenant Sujin with amazement in her voice. "The crystal coating is reflecting everything they shoot at us." On the viewing screen, Nam watched as Devourer bioships tried desperately to adapt to this new threat. But for the first time in 50,000 years, the Devourers faced something they could not understand or absorb. "Fire all weapons," Nam ordered. The new soul's missiles struck a Devourer vessel, but now something incredible happened. Where human weapons touched the alien hull, the biomechanical surface began to burn and crack. The living crystal energy was like poison to the Devourer ships. "Sir, the enemy vessel is retreating," Du-Hyun reported from his engineering station. "Their hull is smoking and appears to be dying." Across the solar system, the tide of battle was turning. Human ships that had been helpless minutes before were now pushing back the ancient enemy. The crystal-enhanced hulls not only protected them, but turned their ordinary weapons into something the Devourers had never faced. Admiral Lee's voice crackled through the communication system. "All ships focus fire on the command vessel. If we can destroy their leader, we might break their collective mind." The Devourer command ship was enormous, a biomechanical monster the size of Earth's moon. It hung at the center of their fleet like a diseased heart, pulsing with sickly green light. As the human ships approached, it began to charge a weapon unlike anything they had seen before. "Captain," Elder Moran's voice whispered in Nam's mind, "that weapon will destroy your entire fleet. But I sense a weakness. The command ship draws power from all the others. If we can disrupt that connection." Nam understood immediately. "All ships, this is Captain Nam. I am going to ram the command vessel. When I do, target the power conduits connecting it to the other ships." "Captain, that is suicide," Taeyong protested from his communication station. Nam looked around at his crew. These brave people who had followed him into an impossible battle. "Get to the escape pods. That is an order." "Sir," Sujin said firmly, "we are staying with you and the ship." Du-Hyun nodded in agreement. "We started this fight together. We will finish it together." Taeyong smiled sadly. "Besides, someone needs to witness what happens today. The universe should remember that humans and Kithara stood together." Nam felt tears in his eyes as he looked at his loyal crew. In his mind, Elder Moran's presence grew stronger, filling him with ancient courage. "All power to engines," Nam commanded. "Set course for the center of the command ship." The new soul accelerated toward the massive Devourer vessel. Around them, Enemy ships fired everything they had, but the crystal hull deflected every attack. The command ship's weapon was almost ready to fire. Nam could see energy building in its core, like a miniature sun. "Tell Dr. Mina," Nam said quietly, into his communication device, that humanity kept its promise. The new soul struck the Devourer command ship at incredible speed. The collision tore through space-time itself, creating an explosion that could be seen from Earth. But this was no ordinary explosion. The crystal energy from Elder Moran and the other Kithara consciousnesses reacted with the command ship's biomechanical core. Instead of simple destruction, something miraculous happened. The explosion began to spread and crystallize, creating barriers of pure energy that trapped and destroyed every Devourer vessel. Dr. Mina watched from Luna Station as the enemy fleet simply vanished in cascades of crystalline light. But the energy did not disappear. Instead, it formed a shimmering barrier around the entire solar system. A living shield made from the combined consciousness of brave humans and selfless Kithara. "What is happening?" asked Dr. Kim, staring at the readings on his instruments. "The crystal explosion has created a permanent defense barrier," Mina explained, her voice filled with wonder. "The Kithara consciousness merged with human technology and created something new. Something that will protect our solar system forever." Veltar, the last surviving Kithara leader, stood beside her, his crystal form glowing with peaceful light. "They are still there," he said softly. "Captain Nam, Elder Moran, all the others who sacrificed themselves. Their consciousness lives on in the shield. They will watch over both our species for all time." 6 months later, Dr. Mina stood in the same laboratory, but now she was not alone. Ships approached from deep space almost daily, not enemies, but refugees from dozens of different species. Word had spread across the galaxy that someone had finally defeated the Devaros. "Lieutenant Haijin, how many refugee ships arrived today?" Mina asked. 7. Dr. Mina, representatives from the Zephyrian Republic, the Crystal Collective, and 5 other species we have never met before. They are all asking the same question, which is, Haijin smiled. They want to know how Earth became the first safe haven in the galaxy. Mina looked out at the stars, where the crystal shield glimmered with gentle light. Sometimes, late at night, she could swear she heard voices in that light. Captain Nam encouraging new arrivals, Elder Moran sharing ancient wisdom, and countless others who had given everything to protect life itself. Humanity had reached for the stars seeking knowledge, but they had found something far more precious. They had become the guardians of hope in a dark universe.